Aloha, I'm Jack Dugan, and this is Real Talk with Maui Now. Today we have Rod Antone, Executive Director of the Maui Hotel and Lodging Association. Rod, how you doing?
Great, Jack. Always good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. Thanks for taking the time with us. So we got
No problem.
a handful of questions for you today. Hopefully you can do your best. I know you will at trying to answer them for our audience. We'll start off with the first question. Can you share a little bit about Maui's hotel and lodging industry? More specifically, how many local people are typically employed within the Maui hotel and lodging industry?
Good question. Well, I can tell you we've got about 50 hotels, hotel timeshares, condos, and then we have, those are what we call our property members, and we have allied members, anybody that works with those property members, restaurants, Maui linen, cleaning companies, construction folks. All told, we have about 150, 60 or so members, allied and property. And, employment-wise, if you look at the census information in accommodations, there were more than 12,000 people. And in retail and restaurant, that's another 10,000 each. So we're looking around more than 30,000 in the industry. Now, Maui Hotel and Lodging doesn't represent every single hotel and restaurant. So, we're somewhere in between,
Sure.
but it's a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, to be clear, that's Maui County that we're talking about, those numbers.
Yeah. Very reliable Census Bureau numbers from the last couple of years.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So speaking of tax revenues, obviously it's a big contributor. This industry is a big contributor to Maui County's budget. Approximately how much dollars does it generate for Maui County?
I asked that same question at the county, and for our property members, hotel resorts, timeshare condos, we pay about 47% of the property taxes, and property taxes is how the county funds everything. It's the only tax the county has. So I mean, we're almost half the county's budget. When you look at what the mayor announces for his budget, I mean, it's in the high hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't think we're in billions yet, but it's around 700, 800 million. And we're slightly less than half of that.
Wow. So that means out of all the homeowners, local homeowners and residential properties and all of that, you're saying out of all that tax revenue, the hotel and lodging industry represents about half of that for property taxes?
And you got to remember there's actually a lot of categories for property tax on Maui. We've got hotel, resort, timeshare is its own. They've got short-term rental as well, residential, commercial, industrial. So yeah, we just our hotel, resort, and we're counting timeshare. So actually it's a couple of categories that make up the visitor property taxes, and those account for 47%.
Wow. Okay. Significant.
Well, Rod, I mean, we are we're the only industry here. Ag kind of died out a while ago, and we're the only economic engine on Maui at this time.
Right.
So I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Rod, I recognize you don't have a crystal ball to tell us the future, but in your best projection, do you see many hotels opening up soon? And can you describe what you think will happen over the next few months with hotels opening up? Sure.
So right now with inter-island travel opening up without the quarantine, that's going to be on June 16th. People can travel. People from Oahu can travel to Maui and vice versa. We're looking at some of the smaller hotels opening up. Pioneer Inn, Maui Beach, Maui Coast has been open this whole time because they've had a contract with the flight cruise. Hotel Molokai. So the smaller hotels are opening up, and that's because they can. Because if 20 people stay at their hotel, it means it means they can do that, and it'll be, at least they'll make some money to pay operating costs. 20
Hmm.
people staying in a large hotel, I mean, I don't know if that's even enough to pay to turn on the lights. So, everyone's got to look at their operating costs. Is the revenue from the guests gonna make up for what I'm spending to run the hotel? The bigger hotels, uh, not really. So they're looking to open up July, August, September. I've even heard October.
Hmm.
So from what I've seen, it looks like it'll be small, and then we'll go to the mediums, and the large one's going to be last, of course. And I don't have a crystal ball, but the state's done some great studies. Not great, it's not great news, but at least it gives you an idea. Um, there's been surveys of mainland travelers, and a lot of them are saying, I do plan to take a trip to Maui maybe in 2021, 2020. There's a lot of financial uncertainty. Is it a good time for me to spend money to travel? There's also, well, what if a second wave of COVID hits and I get caught in the middle of it while I'm on vacation, and then I'm stuck there? So there's uncertainty, especially this year. 2021 might be a little better, but right now for occupancy, um, they're predicting maybe 20% occupancy. And to give you an idea, some of our hotels pre-COVID were at 95% occupancy.
Wow.
So huge difference, and it'll be like that for a while.
Okay, thank you for all that. So the 20% occupancy that you just referenced that some are projecting, that's by the end of the year, or what is that? What timeline is that?
That's they're saying 2020, and that
Okay.
maybe at the end of the year you see slightly higher, but
Okay.
they're seeing 20% for 2020.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then with any of the hotels, I mean, obviously this has got to be, financially crushing for many of them. Some are large corporations, as we know, and I believe others are smaller businesses. Do you think there's any hotels here on Maui that will have such, major financial issues that they might not be able to reopen?
Right now a lot of the hotels their concern is it's going to last so long that they're not going to be able to pay their employee benefits, because right now a lot of them they're paying employee benefits. One Wailea hotel said they're paying $500,000 a month to
Wow.
pay for employee medical benefits while they're laid off, and they don't regret doing it. They want to take care of their people, make
Mhm.
sure they're okay during this you know pandemic. um, and I know everybody thinks the hotel industry has deep pockets, and sure, Hyatt's a big corporation, but remember, every single Hyatt around the world is going through this. So I mean, they're having to help out everybody. You know,
Mhm.
so this is unprecedented.
Yeah.
This is not just the Hawaii thing. It's every place that has hotels in
Mm.
every part of the world practically. No one has said, what, this is it. This is the end. We're gonna have to close. I mean, I just saw this morning Starbucks closing 400 locations. I think that's the number,
Yeah.
uh, across the country and maybe in Canada. I mean, so we haven't seen anything like that happen yet.
Yeah.
Not at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. To confirm, the question was if you think any hotels will have such major financial issues that they might not ever be able to open back up. So it sounds like at this point in time, you don't necessarily have any information that says that that is going to happen to any of the local hotels here.
Not yet. Not
But you
yet.
also point out that they are putting out so much, money and expenses still, even though they're closed, especially with employee benefits, that they
Yes.
obviously can't last forever.
Yeah. No. I mean, there's zero revenue going in,
Yeah.
and it's not like the corporations behind the hotels can continue to support every single hotel that they own. I mean, because it's,
Mhm.
again, it's all the hotels. This is not just a Maui or just a Hawaii thing.
Got it. Thank you. So next question I have for you is about the new reality for Hawaii's tours. I mean, as I'm sure you've seen in a lot of different discussions, business leaders, government officials talking about what will Hawaii tourism be like in the future, and there's discussion about um, trying to reshape it at this point in time, people coming together to reshape what it looks like, talking about quality versus quantity, and looking for the right types of visitors. What are your inputs, Rod? What do you think is the right thing for Maui tourism?
Well, it's funny. So for those of you in the audience that didn't know, I was working at Pacific Media Group for a little while. And I wrote one of the first things I wrote was a guidelines for tourists, and it got huge hits on the website, on the MauiNow website. And that's because I realized then that people want to be involved in the conversation to reshape the industry. They're like, they started shouting out, typing in suggestions in the comments section, slow down when you go to Hana, and pull over on the side while you're taking a picture of a waterfall, and don't just leave the trash at the beach. And when I got hired at the Hotel and Lodging Association, that was the big discussion, was we've got to manage tourism. So even before any of this happened, way before COVID-19, they were saying we've got to manage tourism. And there's a whole quality versus quantity thing. And something that I was thinking about is, we keep on saying Maui's no ko'oi. Well, our guests should be no ko'oi. And how do we do that? And so we came up with like guidelines for tourists, something we were going to put in every room, or maybe even after somebody confirms the reservation, we send it to them electronically. Videos at the airport, which Pacific Media Group is we've been talking to you guys about, to get the message out there when you land, like, hey, do this, do that. And some of it's to make sure the tourists understand culture and how not to abuse our environment. And some of it's to keep them safe, like swim with a buddy, talk to the lifeguard, swim parallel to the shore, if you get caught in the rip current. So there was a lot of that going on before COVID-19. And then we got hit with this quarantine, and the discussion sort of got sidetracked for a little while. But it's definitely it's definitely something everyone is conscious about, and we know we have to do.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I remember, it's interesting how, it went from there's so many people and this great need, the Kuleana efforts to inform and train visitors and all that, to having everything come to a standstill so quickly. Definitely, it seems like there's some opportunities to help rebuild it, as we're discussing now. So as far as it relates to the hotels, there's no effort to say have less rooms available as part of this reshaping tourism in the future? That's not necessarily part of the discussion at this point in time.
Well, I want to point out that the hotels have not increased the room number since Courtyard Marriott was built in 2011. But okay, so in fact, we've lost some rooms because some of the hotels converted into timeshares. And so I know people are wondering, okay, but we've seen tourism rise over the years. Okay, look, they're not staying at hotels. And I think everybody knows they're staying someplace else. And that's why there's this big discussion about illegal short-term rentals and, Airbnbs. And I think and the county knows that, and the state knows that, and they're looking at that. We have short-term rentals, part of my association, but they're what I would call the condo hotels. They've been in operation since the 70s or 80s. They look like hotels. They're in the hotel designated areas, but it's, the units are owned by individual owners and they rent them out. So technically it's a short-term rental.
Yeah.
Nobody's been complaining about that. It's the guys that are in some of the neighborhoods. And again, we have some very good short-term rental owners. I want to look at Wailuku Inn. It's in the middle of a neighborhood. They've got high fences. Nobody even knows they've been there. They've been there for 20 years. And they've never had any problems with them. So it's a real, you can't paint it with a wide brush. There's illegals. There are folks that are legal, but maybe they have some problems with their neighbors. But yeah, no, we gotta look at everything. Everybody keeps pointing to the hotels because we're the biggest and the most visible.
Mm-hmm.
But the numbers, the visitor numbers, the hotel room numbers have not gone up, but our
Mm-hmm.
visitor numbers have. So people need to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know I've heard a lot of different stories about different neighborhoods, local community, family neighborhoods that start to feel like not a local community anymore because of the Airbnbs, and I don't know which of those are legal or illegal, but
It's again, you can't paint it with the same brush. I've gone into some neighborhoods right here in Paia, and my friends are like, man, I don't know my neighbors anymore. And then I've gone to some other neighborhoods like, oh, that is an Airbnb, but there's a local guy running it, and he's real cool, and we talk to him all the time. So again, there's no brush you can paint it with that paints everybody the same, which makes it all the more harder for the state and the county to regulate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. As it's related to the visitors, there's many people asking us, talking to us on our social media, and I'm sure all of us have, friends, family, and others that are eager to come visit Maui again. And however, they don't know when they should look at booking. You talked a little bit about that ramp up for the hotels earlier in the interview. What is your guidance for those visitors that don't want to come too soon, but they're really excited to come, and they're asking us, what should we tell them? What's your best guidance in your opinion?
Well, again, the larger hotels won't be opening up for a while. It depends if they feel secure and financially and health-wise with traveling, and the governor relinquishes the 14-day quarantine on domestic and international travel. I mean, they might be able to travel this summer. But again, their accommodation choices might be limited. They may not be able to stay at that big resort that they stayed at 2 years ago. So as long as they keep that in mind, and also I would just urge them to note that we've got one hospital on this island, and so please take the concerns of the local people and the residents and the hotel workers very seriously. We wanna open up again for guests. We want people to enjoy the beauty of our islands, but we have concerns. So I would say just look online. Look on the Maui County website, the Kama'aina First website, which they started, which shows right now it's deals for locals for Kama'aina that are traveling inner island, but when it opens up to the mainland, it'll show a list of accommodations that'll be open. So people should do the research, and they can contact some of the organizations out there, Maui Hotel and Lodging, Maui Visitors Bureau, if they have questions.
Okay, great. Thank you for all that input. Rod, do you have anything else you'd like to say to our audience or the community?
Yeah, to the community, I'm from Maui, born and raised, graduated from Maui High, and I know the frustrations of having tourists on our island, but I mean, we have control over it. We don't have to kick them all out. I know there's some sentiment out there about that, but we can be firm but polite and tell them, this is how you should be on Maui, and respect our traditions. And if you see the kapu sign, it means no trespassing. So don't climb that fence. I mean, we can give them rules. And we've all been that clueless tourists on the mainland or wherever we've gone visiting, and we've been lost and we've had to ask questions. So just keep that in mind. The industry is going to change. We have to change. We have to evolve. And we've got the opportunity after this quarantine, because it's been torn down, so we can rebuild it the way that we want it. And the tourism industry wants the same thing that you do. And we want to get everybody back to work.
Yeah.
So if you guys are at home, hopefully we can get you back to work soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rod, for all that. Yeah, it's encouraging to that note. you see there are a lot of people that are eager to come visit, but they also understand, you know, the realities for us being out in the middle of the Pacific, as you mentioned, hospitals, and then also respecting, you know, just what they need to respect as they come here, whether it's private property or how to drive or all that. So it's nice because you do see those people. I see them, you know, online, and there's some outliers, you know, but
We've
there's a
definitely
lot of
had
people
some.
that I think get it, you know, and they appreciate that about you know how we operate here in Hawaii. So good stuff. Thank you so much, Rod. Really appreciate your time, and look forward to talking with you again very soon.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for doing this. This is great.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon. Aloha.
Mahalo.